One night, a single night, a man journeyed from Mecca to Jerusalem, rose through 7 heavens, stood before the throne of God, and returned home before the dew had dried on the desert stones. Close your eyes and imagine the darkest hour of the night. The city is asleep, the streets are quiet, the stars hang low and silver over the rooftops of Mecca. It was the year of sorrow. The Prophet Muhammad had lost his beloved wife Khadija, who had believed in him when the whole world doubted. He had lost his uncle Abu Talib, who had protected him with his very life. He had been to the city of Taif, where the people had driven him out, and children had thrown stones at his feet until they bled. His heart was heavy, and yet God had not forgotten him. In fact, God was about to show him something no human eye had ever seen. The angel came in the middle of the night, and with him a creature that had never walked the earth before. The Prophet was resting near the Kaaba when the angel Jibreel appeared, radiant as light poured into the shape of a man. With him stood an animal unlike any other, the Buraq. It was white, smaller than a mule, larger than a donkey, and its every stride stretched as far as the eye could see. Some say it had wings, some say it moved faster than a heartbeat. The Prophet mounted the Buraq, and Jibreel spread his wings beside him, and just like that they were gone. Glory be to him who took his servant by night from the sacred mosque to the farthest mosque. In the blink of an eye they soared over mountains and valleys, over rivers and sleeping cities, until the ancient walls of Jerusalem rose before them in the moonlight. And waiting inside Al-Aqsa Mosque was the most extraordinary gathering in all of human history. Every prophet who had ever walked the earth was there, and they were all waiting for him. Ibrahim, who had built the Kaaba with his own hands, Musa, who had parted the sea, Isa, who had breathed life into clay birds, Suleiman, Dawood, Yusuf, they were all there, row upon row, luminous and still every soul sent by God to guide humanity, gathered in one sacred house. Jibreel led the Prophet to the front, and Muhammad, the last of all prophets, the most beloved, led them all in prayer. Can you imagine it? Every great messenger of God bowing together behind one man in the hush of the Jerusalem night. He was then offered 2 cups, one of milk, one of wine. He chose the milk, and Jibreel smiled and said, "You have chosen the true nature of things." Then they rose, higher than Jerusalem, higher than the clouds, higher than anything any human had ever reached. The first gate of heaven opened, and everything the Prophet had ever known became very, very small. They rose through the first heaven, where the stars are anchored like lanterns on a ceiling of light. There they met Adam, the father of all mankind, who wept with joy when he saw his son. Into the second heaven they soared, and there were Yahya and Isa, cousins in spirit, who greeted him with bright and generous smiles. In the third heaven, Yusuf, the most beautiful man ever created, welcomed him. In the fourth, Idris. In the fifth, Harun. And in the sixth heaven, they met Musa, and Musa wept. "Why do you weep?" the Prophet asked. "Because a young man was sent after me," Musa said, his voice full of wonder, "and more of his followers will enter paradise than mine." In the seventh heaven, Ibrahim, the friend of God. He leaned against the Bayt al-Mamur, the sacred house of the heavens, the mirror of the Kaaba above the earth, circled by 70,000 angels every single day, none of whom ever return, because there are always 70,000 more. And then they stopped climbing, because what lay ahead was not a place, it was a presence. Jibreel, who had accompanied prophets for thousands of years, who had descended with revelation, who feared nothing, stopped and said, "I cannot go further." They had reached Sidrat al-Muntaha, the lote tree of the farthest boundary. Its leaves were like the ears of elephants, its fruits like great clay jars. It was draped in colors that have no names in any human language, wrapped in the light of God so completely that even the greatest of angels could go no further. Jibreel, who is made of light and wing, who spans the horizon, stopped at the tree's edge. "This is as far as I can go," he said. "If I moved even one finger's width closer, I would be burned away." And the Prophet, a man, a human being, made of dust and breath and love, continued alone. What happened next belongs to a closeness that has no words. The Prophet later said, "I saw my Lord," a nearness beyond all distance, a meeting beyond all meetings, and it was there in that boundless nearness that God gave his beloved nation a gift, 50 prayers a day. But the Prophet, on his way back down, stopped at Musa, who asked him something that would change history. Musa said, "Go back. Your people cannot bear 50 prayers." "I know I tried with the children of Israel." So the Prophet returned to God and asked for a reduction. 40, 30, 20, 10. Each time Musa sent him back. Each time God reduced the number. Until finally 5. The Prophet was too shy to ask again. And God said something extraordinary. "They are 5 in practice, but 50 in reward. My word does not change. 5 prayers a day. 5 pauses in the noise of the world. 5 moments to remember where you came from and where you are going. Not a burden, a bridge. A thread connecting the dust of the earth to the light above the 7th heaven. This is why Muslims pray 5 times a day, dear child. Not because they have to, but because once, on the greatest night in all of time, their Prophet stood at the edge of everything and brought this gift back for them. He came back to Mecca before the night was over. The bed was still warm, the city was still asleep, but Muhammad was never the same. In the morning, he told the people what had happened. Some laughed, some shook their heads. A journey to Jerusalem and back in one night? Impossible, but Abu Bakr, his dearest friend, heard the story and said simply, "If he said it, I believe it." And so the people who believed came to be called in part those who had faith in things they could not see, but knew in their hearts to be true. The night sky is not just darkness, little one. It is a ceiling full of stories. The moon that watches over you as you sleep has seen things we can barely imagine. And every night, somewhere in the world, someone lifts their hands in prayer, a thin golden thread stretching all the way back to that one impossible beautiful night. Sleep now, and know that the God who carried a heartbroken man through 7 heavens to show him wonders, that same God is watching over you, right now, in the dark. Subhana alladhi asra bi abdihi layla. Glory be to him who took his servant by night.